Hello, everyone. I'm Aaron Smith, President and CEO of AMSA, and every week I come to you with the Offshore Briefing, a lighthearted take on the week's maritime news. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. If you may have noticed, yesterday the administration announced a 90-day extension of the current Jones Act waiver, bringing the waiver to 150 days. The previous 60-day waiver was the longest and broadest waiver in history of the Jones Act. Extending it 90 days is doubling down on a failed policy. The Jones Act is the foundation of the American maritime industry. It ensures that U.S. domestic cargo movements support U.S. workers. It also, in doing so, ensures that our U.S. Navy and our Coast Guard have a domestic supply chain that is capable of building the assets necessary to protect U.S. citizens and protect our interests abroad. Waiving the act undercuts that national security mission. The initial waiver has not reduced gasoline prices. Rather, prices have increased in every U.S. market, while the ones benefiting from this waiver are the NATO countries that have refused to help in the conflict against Iran. To put simply, the waiver and its extension sells out American maritime industry, the foundation of our Navy, for the benefit of oil traders and foreign shippers. Now is the time we should be strengthening U.S. maritime capacity, not undermining it. So I'm going to bring in our co-hosts, Ashley and Angel, now to give some color and some thoughts about what this waiver is doing and to who's being harmed by it. I hope you'll join me and listen. Thank you all. As I said, I'm now going to welcome in the rest of the AMSA team to discuss this and to provide some more color commentary on what's going on. So, Ashley, Angel, welcome. You know, as we get started here, I think AMSA is in an interesting position versus the rest of the maritime industry because our members compete with foreign vessels on a daily basis. So, we're kind of like a bellwether on how, when the Jones Act is waived or isn't enforced, what happens. And so,
Yeah.
I think let's talk about that for a minute. What have we seen with foreign vessels? Anyone have any comments on
My
that?
first thing is, I did well, obviously we all did deep dives into what's going on and, reading all the articles. And the misperception that there's a limited Jones Act fleet and that's the reason for all this is just insane to me.
Hmm.
Correct? Like, I don't where are they pulling this? Why can they say this when it's just not true?
Right. Well, and look who has used the waiver so far. So
Yeah.
by by the data that is on MARAD's website, and you can look it up right now, it looks like 14 tankers have used the waiver. But there's some interesting ones in there. And this, kind of is getting a little bit farther than what I was going to ask. But there is one, I believe it's pronounced the Crisopini, um, was one of the first vessels to use it. And what they did was that vessel, it only used it to transport just under 2,000 barrels, which is a very small amount.
Right.
And it wasn't gasoline, it wasn't jet fuel, it wasn't fertilizer. It was it was what's called VLSFO. That is very low sulfur fuel oil. That's the kind of petroleum product that is used by ocean-going ships for their own fuel. And what's interesting about this is this vessel transported those bunkers, what is, what fuel is called for ocean-going ships. It loaded it February 27th before the waiver, and then discharged it March 28th after the waiver. It loaded it from Corpus Christi, Texas, and discharged it in Corpus Christi, Texas.
So it's just using it to get it. It has nothing to do with what the waiver's supposed to.
Well, let's look at what they really did. They loaded it in February, prices spiked, and then they said, "Oh shit, we got a bunch of extra fuel oil. You know what we can do?
We can
We can
sell it.
sell that back to the US market at a profit."
Yep.
That's what this waiver is doing. And I think, and going back to my point, those of us in the offshore industry, we've seen this already. We have seen when you don't enforce the Jones Act, what you have is you have lower vessels and you have people looking to make money trying to, and look, I'm not going to say that our members are out there to make money as well, but you have two different playing fields. You have the people who are supporting US workers, supporting US shipyards, paying US taxes, paying US wages, and then you have people not doing any of that
But reaping
and
the
trying to make
benefits. Yeah. What I find most like again, I'm the different voice between you and Angel because I am in the maritime, I mean in the membership world and the events world for AMSA, although I'm involved in everything, but just not as much as you two are with OSVDPA and all of AMSA. So that's how I look at everything, right? And my whole what I think the White House first did this waiver and now is how could they have done this right after their maritime action plan? It goes against everything that looks so promising in that maritime action plan. That's what the contradiction is so bold to me that I don't it doesn't make it make sense.
You're right. Well, let's tie this back to we have an AMSA member that is looking to build a cable A vessel in the United States. They want to build a cable A vessel in the United States. This vessel will participate in offshore energy markets and will participate in also cable A and cable repair for national security purposes. They are not constructing that vessel because foreign vessels are coming in and undercutting them. And so they can't get the financing to even start construction because all the financiers know, well, that vessel's never going to work because cheap foreign vessels that don't pay US taxes, don't pay US wages, don't abide by US safety standards are going to undercut it. Well, let's extrapolate that. You have that AMSA member who's going to DC next month to tell that story. And at the same time, you think that there's going to be any different? I mean, why would anyone be thinking about building a tanker in the United States today? Why? I cannot think of a single reason. And because of this,
Yeah.
because that's the uncertainty that's been created now is 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 this market going to be there 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, or is it going to be something where it just gets waived and your investments get undercut?
Yeah. In addition to it's kind of we're trying to get US workers into the industry. That's a lot of what our podcast is interviewing people that are in the industry to highlight how great it is when all of this is kind of help prioritizing foreign workers on foreign vessels.
It is. On an earlier podcast, I mentioned the truck driver issue
Correct.
where US truck drivers, the Department of Transportation has taken measures to clamp down on foreign truck drivers that had bogus credentials because they don't want those truck drivers on our roads in our domestic commerce streams taking jobs from US truck drivers. How is that any different? I mean, there have been stories that look, more than a quarter of the foreign mariner workforce comes from the Philippines. There have been stories for years about how the Philippines, their licensing system does not abide by STCW. It's been known for more than a decade that they have not adopted the international standard for mariner licenses. Just like the Mexican truckers hadn't adopted US CDL requirements. We're doing the same thing.
Yeah. It's just it's every time I think, "Oh, we're moving in the right direction," or, "Oh, everyone they get it." Between Coast Guard or this, I don't understand why we're always in this predicament when it's the wrong predicament to be in, you know? It's gotta be frustrating, and I don't even own a business. I wanna help all of our members, you know?
Yes.
Well, what can
And
people do, Aaron? Like, how do we we know what to do. We're reaching out to legislators. We're trying to get it out there. We're doing the press releases. We're trying to get it out there that this is bullshit, basically. What can someone, an AMSA member, a non-AMSA member, anyone that is being affected by this, which it's everyone, and it will go inland too. It's going to affect everyone. What can they do?
One of the things that we're going to have next week, we have a tool that we've invested in and we've used to good success in the past. And that is that you can record your own messages right on your own phone and upload them to us. We did this. Randy Adams made a great use of this
He
tool
did.
in the past. We used it when we honored Larry Hornbeck, and everyone made some just touching videos for Mr. Larry. Everyone should be. We're going to send that tool out next week.
Okay.
Everyone should record their own stories. And
Yes.
there's going to be a big blitz on this. AMSA members, their executives are going to be talking to high level personnel. We have, members of Congress, governors, agency heads, lots of that. But I think the most powerful voice to oppose a Jones Act waiver comes from those people who are directly affected. The United States mariners that will go home and not work because a foreign mariner is going to get to work inside the United States. So those are the voices I want to see. And I want to see each and every one of those mariners look down the barrel of the camera and say, I support the Jones Act, and then Jones Act supports me. I think that's the best message we have here.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, for anyone listening, AMSA members, you will get that from me. For anyone who's not an AMSA member, come to our website. We'll have it up there as well.
Yeah. And everyone come to DC
Yes.
next month. We're going to have some good meetings on this. I want to see, and I'd like to have some mariners come and say, and talk, to some of these congressional staff and say, I'd love to work on tankers. I'm working on OSVs right now. I'd love to work on tankers as well. But you know what? I'm never going to get that chance because I'm not going to accept the wage level that a foreign mariner accepts. And I'm not saying that's not a bad statement to make. You should, as a U.S. citizen, say, you know what? I'm not going to accept the wage levels that Chinese mariners are willing to accept.
When you've gone through all the credentialing and you've done all the time, your energy, your effort is worth something. Your safety is worth something.
You're very well put.
and to Ashley's point earlier about just creating new problems, it was supposed to solve. I just a reminder, it was supposed to solve a problem with the oil and fertilizer. Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Um, and that problem has not been solved, and yet it's created another problem. So yeah, I think it's very important for our mariners and anyone affected to voice their concerns, because it's very important because they're not being considered when this is happening.
So very good point. I mean, the Jones Act supports 650,000 jobs across the nation. Um, every one of those people, the highest estimate I have seen is that the waiving the Jones Act has saved some consumers and some markets 3 cents. So some consumers and some markets are saving 3 cents on a gallon of gasoline, but 650,000 Americans are seeing their jobs put in jeopardy and being replaced by foreign workers. That's not a good trade-off to me. 3 cents for some people versus 650,000 people's livelihoods. That's not a trade-off.
No, not at all.
Well, I appreciate y'all joining me today. Again, follow our statements, connect with us online,
Follow us on social media.
follow us on social medias, interact, watch watch the videos where we've had Calvin Gaines, John Fontenot, all of these people talking about what they do and what the maritime industry has provided for them. And it's not just the mariners, it's also the Jeremy Baileys of the world. Watch how the US industry has supported all of them and say, should they see those jobs go somewhere else? I don't think they should.
And send in your videos, tag us in your videos if you just post it because it's very important.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all for joining. Please, like I said, everyone interact with all of our statements, messages, supports. And if you want to do more, reach out. We're happy to put you in the right direction. Thank y'all.
Thanks. Have a
Everyone.
good one. That wraps up another episode of Maritime in America. We're proud to highlight the voices and stories that keep the American offshore industry strong. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us, and remember, the course ahead is shaped by those who step up and steer it. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your crew. Tune in every Friday for your offshore briefing, and don't miss our next full episode, dropping soon with the very special guest Mariner's Perspective. Catch you next time.